From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Morning Edition.
Good morning and thanks for starting your day with us. Today is Saturday, November 29th. I'm Max Darrow. Here's a look at what we've got at the top of the rundown today. A shooting at a busy Bay Area mall sent shoppers running for cover on Black Friday. And this morning, 3 people are recovering in the hospital. This happened at Westfield Valley Fair in Santa Clara just before 6 o'clock last night. Police say 2 men got into a fight and it escalated to the point of gunfire. 3 people, a man, a woman, and a 16-year-old girl were hurt, but they all are expected to be okay. Investigators say this was not a random attack. They say the shooter ran off and this morning still is on the loose. Dangerous beach conditions are once again in place this weekend. The National Weather Service warns there is potential for powerful 13 to 18-foot sneaker waves and strong rip currents as well, potentially hitting west-facing beaches like Pacifica and Ocean Beach. Over the past several weeks, several people have died along the California coast after being swept out into the ocean by large waves. Officials are urging everyone to stay back, alert, and to never turn their backs on the surf. That beach hazard statement is in effect through Sunday night. The Warriors will be without Steph Curry for at least a week. He's sidelined with a bruised quad. The Dubs are back in action against the New Orleans Pelicans tonight, and they'll face off with a familiar face for the very first time, former Warrior and 3-time champ Kevon Looney. It'll be his first time suiting up against the Dubs since joining the Pelicans. Tip-off set for 5:30 tonight at Chase Center. Now let's get a first look at our weather with Chief Meteorologist Paul Hagan.
The story today, like it has been all week, is about the fog in the first alert forecast. That Thule fog has been exceptionally stubborn through the Central Valley all week, and some of that spills through the Delta into the interior valleys of the North Bay and the East Bay. And while that's certainly going to be a factor for at least the first half of today, we're cautiously optimistic that we're going to be able to burn off a little more of that fog today compared to yesterday. Yesterday's highs in Concord and Santa Rosa were only in the upper 40s. Now, the interior valleys of the East Bay and the North Bay are going to be a little cooler than other parts of the Bay Area, but I think you're at least going to climb up into the mid to upper 50s, maybe even around 60 degrees. Everybody else into the low to mid 60s this afternoon. We'll take a look at the full 7-day forecast, which does eventually get rid of the fog in just a few minutes.
One of the busiest shopping nights of the year turned into a scene of panic. Shots fired at Santa Clara's Valley Fair Mall just outside of Macy's sent crowds running. 3 people got hit. All of them are expected to be okay. Police say it started with a fight. Kevin Coe spoke with witnesses who were inside when the chaos began.
The Valley Fair Mall has been closed for hours, but it's a wide open scene for South Bay detectives. However, this investigation now extends far beyond mall property because the lone suspect has yet to be found. Chaos on one of the busiest shopping days of the year after shots rang out at around 5:30 on the night of Black Friday.
My first time came for Black Friday. It's literally my birthday. They started running, so then we ran, and then we all came to the parking lot. Everybody was running, screaming, crying, and then probably like 20 minutes after, we seen like a guy walk out with a wound on his chest, and he was bleeding. So then that's when we knew, like, oh yeah, this is like real.
Details are still minimal, but investigators say 2 men were in an altercation. Then one of them started shooting at the other, hitting the other man. 2 bystanders were also shot, a woman and a 16-year-old girl. All 3 victims are expected to survive. Police say the shooter got away, while adding they believe there is no public danger.
The circumstances, however, we are still investigating, trying to determine what occurred and what transpired prior to the shooting. However, we can tell, we are very sure that this was not targeted at any of the shoppers here at the mall.
While others chose to run, many shoppers and workers found cover wherever they could. This video from the Citizen app shows dozens of people packing into the back hallways of the mall, hiding for safety. Others sprinted to the nearest exit. Video shows a crowd of people walking out a door with their hands up, trying to get to safety.
I just tried to find like a spot to hide, and I found like tables and people going under the tables, so I just went also under the tables and just wait for there like probably 5 minutes. I was just looking at people's faces and looking how scared they were.
The concern for shoppers and workers is that no arrests have been made. However, South Bay law enforcement is adamant that shopping will be safe in the days to come.
The suspect is outstanding. They are unidentified, but our detectives are responding and doing everything they can, and I have every confidence in my body that they will identify the suspect and they will be brought to justice.
No word yet on when the mall will reopen, as that depends on how lengthy this investigation is. We could tell you that police, once they got here, they haven't left, and they are combing through a plethora of evidence, which also includes a lot of surveillance footage all around Valley Fair.
We have an alert for Muni Metro riders in San Francisco this morning. The Central Subway still out of service after a car smashed into the Chinatown Rose Pack station last night. In its last update at about 9 o'clock last night, Muni said riders on the T line will have to use either the 30 or 45 bus to travel between Chinatown and Brannan Street. Trains are still running, however, between Brannan and Sunnydale. In Contra Costa County, police are trying to track down the smash-and-grab burglars involved in a string of early morning break-ins. Just after 4 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, officers responded to 2 shopping centers, San Miguel and Countrywood, where they found smashed windows and signs of forced entry at 9 different businesses. Burglars hit a donut shop, a swim store, a Mexican restaurant, and a flower shop, just to name a few. Investigators are chasing leads but have yet to name any suspects. A small earthquake gave the peninsula a good shake on Friday evening. The USGS says a magnitude 3.0 earthquake struck just after 5 o'clock p.m. near Colma, close to Pacifica, and South San Francisco. Thousands of people felt it up and down the bay from Palo Alto to San Rafael. The quake was shallow, about 4.5 kilometers below the surface, which explains why so many people felt this one. No damage or injuries were reported. This morning, we are learning more about the UC Berkeley student who died after an incident at a fraternity house pool earlier this month. The SF Chronicle reports that officials identified the student as 19-year-old George Mauricio Salinas from San Diego. Police say emergency crews found him unresponsive next to the Alpha Delta Phi pool on November 14th at a party with more than 300 people there and signs of heavy drinking and overcrowding. He was rushed to the hospital and later died there. Investigators do not suspect foul play, but the DA's office is reviewing the case and possibly looking at charges tied to providing alcohol to minors. The fraternity's national office suspended the UC chapter after the incident. Some San Francisco parents say a pickup time at a school is now feeling more like a stress test, especially for families in the public school district's transitional kindergarten program. Many TK classrooms have rotated substitute teachers since the start of the year. Parents say inconsistencies creating a major challenge for 4-year-olds who are trying to build good learning habits. The school district blames a statewide shortage of credentialed TK teachers, made worse by new licensing requirements.
They need to create a pathway that allows the preschool teachers to get the credential without having to go through an onerous system when they already are qualified to teach the 4-year-olds.
What it feels like is that Spider-Man meme where they're all like pointing at each other and it's like, not my problem, not my problem. And at the end of the day, it's the kids and their families taking a hit on it.
With no fix in place, some families say they are already thinking about pulling their kids out of the program entirely. So we did request an interview with San Francisco Unified. A district spokesperson gave us this statement instead, saying they are actively recruiting for the position, but they're challenging to fill because of the statewide shortages of credentialed TK teachers. They do say in the meantime, substitutes and long-term staff are ensuring classrooms are covered. Parents say the district initially ignored requests for updates, but is now holding weekly meetings. They say the district officials have even asked parents for help recruiting qualified teachers. San Francisco's Union Square making a comeback with new stores filling empty spaces. But on Friday, Black Friday, some shoppers said the crowds still were not what they used to be like. They say they encountered shorter lines and fewer people overall. Some people blamed high price points. Others pointed to less generous deals. Still, new stores like Pop Marts continue to draw a lot of attention. A little bit of proof that the buzz is building once again downtown.
We came from the East Bay to check out the new Pop Mart store to hopefully get our hands on some Labubus.
Yeah, we're not trying to get any special deals or anything. We're just out having fun.
Vacancy rates in Union Square have dropped slightly, and with more big-name retailers returning, the heart of San Francisco's shopping scene could be turning a corner. 7:09 on this Saturday morning. Let's take a look at what's happening around the Bay this weekend. The Oakland Ballers are bringing movie night back to Raimondi Park tonight with Pixar's Inside Out. They're handing out 2,000 tickets for the free event. Doors open at 5:30. You can reserve your tickets online. Staying in Oakland, Jack London Square kicks off the holidays tonight with its annual tree lighting and laser light show. That begins at 5:45 in the plaza. Apparently, Santa and Frosty the Snowman are set to show up, so that should be pretty exciting. You may be able to see a little bit of fake snow to make it extra magical as well. In San Francisco, Fan Expo takes over Moscone Center this weekend. 3 days packed with cosplay, comics, gaming, and some big-name celebrity guests. Fans can jump into Q&As, photo ops, anime after-hours events, and live arts battles. The convention runs through Sunday. And in San Francisco's Chinatown, a 2-day Makers Fair is happening along Grant Avenue. The free event brings together local Asian American artists and vendors. Handmade gifts, live creativity, and exhibits will be at the Edge on the Square and the Chinese Cultural Center. It runs from 11 to 5 today. Long before San Jose was the heart of Silicon Valley, the city was known for its agriculture. Now the oldest working farm is still going strong. Another gorgeous shot this morning on this Saturday after Thanksgiving. The sunrise looking wonderful. A little mystery surrounding Salesforce Tower with that. Paul's going to have your forecast in just a few moments, but first we have to start in San Jose. Today it may be known as the heart of Silicon Valley, but long before the tech boom, the city was rooted in agriculture. And one family has been keeping that legacy alive for 8 decades. Len Ramirez takes us to the J&P Cosentino family farm, where one man's love of the land continues to grow.
Of course, the chips aren't too good for navigating one of these things.
At 94 years old, Phil Cosentino still makes his daily walk through the orchard he planted with his own hands. Now, with the help of a walker and his daughters, he moves carefully between the rows of trees that have been a part of his life for 8 decades.
Just looking at a green tree that's alive, it's nature, and then of course when there's fruit on there, that's even more beautiful. It just, for me, it just doesn't get any better.
Phil remembers when he was a teenager back in 1945. His family newly arrived from Ohio. His father bought 10 acres on the southern edge of San Jose.
Us kids, mostly me, got to hate this place because it was hard, dirty work.
When the Cosentino family started the ranch, there was nothing here but farmland, sky, and big dreams. But over the decades, aerial photos tell the story. Orchards vanished, filled in with neighborhoods, shopping centers, and eventually Highway 85. Year by year, the ranch shrank as San Jose grew around it. The history of San Jose, as much as it is the history of the Cosentino family.
The finest soil, you might say, or environment, but soil for producing fruit trees. And what did we do with this gift? We covered it with asphalt.
As the acreage declined, Phil had to get creative. He planted trees closer together and blanketed the orchard in mulch, a pioneering idea at the time, keeping the dust down and stretching every drop of water. Today, the Cosentino family farm is down to just 2 acres. The ranch has about 200 trees, apples, apricots, peaches, pears, and pomegranates. They thrive on drip irrigation, producing the same sweet fruit sold at the family's roadside stand.
My father built this fruit farm stand for us, so we'd have a job, right? 8-year-olds need a job.
Today, daughters Carrie and Mary have taken up the reins.
We were up early, which was not fun in summer break. So up earlier than you wanted to be because the fruit had to get picked early while it's still cool and we had to get it on the stand.
They grew up here doing chores before and after school, and like their father, they've learned to love the land.
It's just been something that's always just been special. And, my father, when he started getting up in age, we kind of just naturally stepped in.
They're bringing the ranch into the modern age, hosting pop-up days that invite local bakers and other boutique businesses to share in the Cosentino tradition. The crowds prove it's working.
Cosentino Farms is a small business that honors family, community, and the earth.
This year, the city honored the Cosentino family with an official commendation celebrating their 80th anniversary and recognizing the ranch as San Jose's last working farm. And Phil hopes the family will keep it that way.
I wish it would be here forever, that it'll never go away. It'll never be, the trees will never be bulldozed like I've seen hundreds and hundreds of acres be bulldozed.
From orchards to office parks, San Jose has seen the changes.
That's our Joe DiMaggio tree.
But here, on a couple remaining acres, the roots run deep, and they're still bearing fruit.
The city of San Jose says it does plan to include the Cosentino Ranch in future historic preservation efforts. The family tells us they have no plans to stop growing either their trees or their legacy.
It is one of the busiest travel weekends of the year, and while fog in the Central Valley and around the Bay Area is going to slow things down, we're going to take a look at the national perspective because there are going to be some complications there as well. A major storm system moving right through the middle of the country, spreading snow and wind through the upper Midwest. So Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, over into Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio, all of those states getting a significant amount of snow, near blizzard conditions at times. And this includes some major airports that are going to have some cascading effects across the rest of the country. Minneapolis, both airports in Chicago, Detroit, even Cleveland, Indianapolis, and Milwaukee. Some of the smaller airports are going to be impacted. And on the warm side of the system, we're going to be seeing the potential for strong to severe thunderstorms moving from Dallas down to Houston, a couple of other busy airports. Those strong storms along the Gulf Coast will continue tonight. Then the whole thing moves into the northeastern U.S., and all those northeastern airline hubs are going to be impacted for the last day of the holiday weekend. So if you or family are traveling, just be patient, check your flights before you leave home. It is going to be a challenging weekend, to say the least. Let's talk about things a little closer to home. The challenge we have is navigating through the fog, and also the same air mass trapping the fog is trapping smoke from wood-burning stoves and fireplaces near ground level. Air quality mostly in the moderate category. No spare the air alert from the Air District for today, but that remains in the realm of possibility for the last day of the holiday weekend tomorrow. Let's take a look at the local map and track how that fog is going to impact our temperatures. And there certainly is going to be an impact. Where it's most stubborn in the interior valleys of the East Bay and the North Bay, temperatures are going to be a little bit cooler, especially for the East Bay. Let's check out those forecast highs. And the coolest spots are going to be far east of the Oakland Hills and really east of the Diablo Range, mid to upper 50s there, but up to struggling around 60 degrees in Livermore. For the North Bay, we are again cautiously optimistic. We're going to shake some of that fog, and temperatures will warm up to a mix at upper 50s and low to mid 60s. Should be in the low to mid 60s around the Bay, and the warmest spots will be for our neighbors farther down to the south, around Monterey and Salinas. Hollister getting up into the middle portion of the 60s by this afternoon. That's not bad for the second to last day of November. If you're looking a little bit farther down the line, let's take a look at the long range forecast because we don't have any rain in the 7-day forecast, even the 6 to 10-day outlook. That is a strong signal towards dry conditions, essentially from the Bay Area northward. We don't see even a hint of normal rainfall patterns shaping back up until we look at the 8 to 14-day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. And even that, we're probably in the back end of that 8 to 14-day range before the next rain chance would be headed towards the Bay Area. So in the short term, we'll continue focusing on the fog. 2 microclimates for you, not the usual ones of Bay, coast, and inland. We're looking at the East Bay and the North Bay, where the fog is going to have an impact on temperatures through Monday, and then more sunshine starts to break through and temperatures return to normal. The other microclimate, we didn't get real creative with the naming of this. It's just literally everywhere else. Temperatures aren't going to be a whole lot different, but you are going to see more sunshine over the weekend to start next week, and that's going to make it feel just a little bit warmer.
Coming up after the break, Stanford football did some shopping on Black Friday. Cardinal hired their new head coach. Ryan Yamamoto will have the latest coming up in sports.
Well, the 49ers will keep feeding Christian McCaffrey on Sunday in Cleveland, but with snow in the forecast, San Francisco is probably just as excited about traveling to Cleveland as former Bulls big man Joakim Noah.
I never heard anybody say I'm going to Cleveland on vacation. I mean, what's so good about Cleveland?
I showed him a bunch of video this morning of what it looked a year ago. I think this day there. Told them to expect it. Won't be surprised if it's not that way.
I would love snow. 34 degrees and raining is about as bad as it possibly gets. But hey, it's football, so it is what it is.
Of course, kid'll love snow. Eagles fans spent the day after Thanksgiving booing their own team. Bears corner, former Laney College star Sean Wright had his 8th takeaway of the season, most in the NFL. DeAndre Swift got the scoring starter for Chicago. They had nearly 300 yards on the ground and beat Philly 24-15 for their 5th straight win. They're now 9-3. The Eagles fall to 8-4. Stanford football wraps up the regular season tomorrow night against Notre Dame, but but the Cardinals have already started for their next season. Former Cardinal quarterback Davita Pritchard will take over for Frank Reich and the program's new head coach. Pritchard is currently the quarterback's coach for the Commanders, but before that, Pritchard spent a decade on David Shaw's coaching staff. Macklin Celebrini and the Sharks at home for a matinee against Vancouver. San Jose scored twice in the second period to take the 3-2 lead. William Eklund with his first goal this month. Meanwhile, Yaroslav Askarov doesn't want the November to end. The Sharks rookie goalie had 32 saves and picked up his 8th win.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you again. You're the best again. Let's go, Sharks!
No need to say more.
Well, the Warriors will be out with Steph Curry for at least the next 3 games as he deals with a quad injury. Golden State is now 10-10, 500 after Wednesday's loss to Houston, is looking to avoid going into a free fall without Steph.
And I'm free! Free falling over.
Well, here's some good news. Jonathan Kuminga went through a full practice on Friday, could return Saturday night against the Pelicans. Kuminga has missed the last 7 games with a knee injury. And with New Orleans in town, that means Kevon Looney will be back at Chase Center for the first time since leaving the Warriors. You can bet he'll get a huge ovation from Dub Nation.
Coming up, people gather in West Virginia to remember a National Guard member who was shot and killed in Washington, D.C. At the same time, President Trump reacts to the violence by announcing new restrictions on immigration. We'll get you up to speed with that. Pope Leo visits the Blue Mosque in Turkey today as he seeks to ease long simmering tensions between different branches of Christianity.
From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Morning Edition.
I'm Max Darrow. Let's get you ready to head out the door today with a look at your weekend forecast. Here's Chief Meteorologist Paul Hagan.
The story today, like it has been all week, is about the fog in the first alert forecast. That Thule fog has been exceptionally stubborn through the Central Valley all week, and some of that spills through the Delta into the interior valleys of the North Bay and the East Bay. And while that's certainly going to be a factor for at least the first half of today, we're cautiously optimistic that we're going to be able to burn off a little more of that fog today compared to yesterday. Yesterday's highs in Concord and Santa Rosa were only in the upper 40s. Now, the interior valleys of the East Bay and the North Bay are going to be a little cooler than other parts of the Bay Area, but I think you're at least going to climb up into the mid to upper 50s, maybe even around 60 degrees. Everybody else into the low to mid 60s this afternoon. We'll take a look at the full 7-day forecast, which does eventually get rid of the fog in just a few minutes.
People who live in West Virginia gathered to remember the National Guard soldier who was killed in our nation's capital this week. Another soldier is in critical condition this morning after the shooting near the White House on Wednesday. As CBS's Christian Benavides reports, President Trump is now announcing an immigration crackdown in response to the recent violence.
In her hometown of Webster Springs, West Virginia, residents gathered to say goodbye to 20-year-old Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom after being gunned down in Washington, D.C. this week.
Nothing but caring, loving, willing to help somebody, anything out of her way to help somebody get through it, anything that they needed.
Beckstrom's father, Gary, mourned his daughter on social media, writing, "My baby girl has passed to glory." Friday, officials announced that the suspect, 29-year-old Ramanullah Lakamwal, an Afghan national living in Washington state, will be charged with first-degree murder. He worked with the U.S. during the Afghan war and was allowed in 2021 through a Biden-era program called Operation Allies Welcome. The suspect's asylum case was then approved earlier this year, according to a DHS official.
When you let the people come in by the thousands and thousands and thousands, they made a terrible mistake.
In response to the shooting, President Trump announced he would permanently pause migration from, quote, third world countries. He threatened to revoke U.S. citizenship from foreign-born Americans who undermine domestic tranquility and called for a review of all green card holders from 19 countries of concern, including Iran, Venezuela, and Afghanistan. The Department of Homeland Security says it will be reviewing all asylum cases approved under the Biden administration.
A major political shakeup out of Washington and Central America. Former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez is getting a presidential pardon. President Trump announced Friday he will issue a full pardon to Hernandez. Hernandez was convicted last year in the United States on drug trafficking charges and sentenced to 45 years. Prosecutors had accused him of taking cartel bribes and turning Honduras into a narco state. Trump called the sentence unfair. He congratulated Hernandez online. The move has stunned U.S. officials and sparked backlash in Honduras just ahead of Sunday's presidential election there. Pope Leo continues his trip to Turkey today. He'll visit major religious sites as he calls for unity among Christian churches. The Pope toured Istanbul's iconic Blue Mosque on Saturday, quietly taking in the space with local religious leaders, guiding him through the 17th century site. The Vatican originally expected him to pause for a moment of silent reflection, but he chose simply to observe the mosque. The visit follows similar gestures by past popes and marks an important cultural moment on Leo's first trip to Turkey. He continued his day with meetings across the city. Pope Leo also met with local Christian leaders behind closed doors. The gathering followed his call for healing centuries of division and standing together against religious violence. A glitch in Airbus software has airlines scrambling worldwide, including during one of the busiest U.S. travel weekends of the year. The A320 aircraft needed urgent updates after a JetBlue flight suddenly dropped altitude last month. Investigators blamed corrupted flight data, possibly caused by solar radiation. The FAA and European regulators ordered fixes, causing some flight delays and cancellations around the globe. American Airlines, Delta, and others raced to update planes, while Japan's ANA canceled dozens of flights. Pope Leo's plane even needed the patch before his next stop. Airlines say most updates should wrap up quickly with minimal impact moving forward. Coming up, could a tour of a tiny town in Texas hold the key to a major solution for homelessness here in the Bay Area? A South Bay leader thinks so. We'll tell you all about it on the other side of the break. Pick a community in the Bay Area, and leaders are trying to figure out how to solve homelessness. But solutions that stick are quite hard to come by. However, there is a new sense of hope in the South Bay, thanks to a field trip that dozens of Bay Area leaders took to Texas. And that trip involved a tour of a tiny town. Aside from a few remaining traces of life,
this was probably an RV site.
Columbus Park in San Jose, the once bustling, enormous homeless encampment in Santa Clara County, is now quiet, which to Ray Solnick is admittedly kind of odd.
It's gone. It's just disappeared, which feels weird.
But necessary, he says, for a new reality to take shape. The homeless advocate and CEO of Seeds of Hope Silicon Valley thinks it was the right move for the city to dismantle the encampment and begin an aggressive push to get people into temporary housing.
I feel hopeful because this is a step in the right direction. It's not safe for people to be living out on the street.
He thinks the system in place right now has plenty to offer: interim housing, supportive services, shelters, case management, and more. But these are just steps and not big solutions.
Whether it's parks or street corners, we see people living, laying down on the street. It's got to come to an end. We can do better.
So from his standpoint, it is time to try an entirely new approach. And that is why he and a delegation of more than 60 leaders from communities throughout the Bay Area spent a week in Texas, touring two unique approaches towards permanently getting people off the streets that appear to be breaking barriers. One of them is called Community First.
It's unlike anything that we have today.
It's a 53-acre master-planned neighborhood in Austin, Texas, with permanent housing for people coming out of chronic homelessness. It's not designed to transition people back into society. It's designed to create a new community where people can find purpose. People can get jobs here, access services here, and build new lives here. More than 420 formerly homeless people now call this community home.
People of like-minded backgrounds who've been living out on the street can get to know each other, live together permanently, as opposed to through transitional housing or being moved around at different encampments.
Solnick is working to bring that model home. State Senator Dave Cortese was on the tour.
But we really don't have facilities like this in our area. Looking around, there's a lot to be inspired by here. There's a lot of good things going on.
He likes the idea of a centralized, community-driven approach. He left Texas feeling optimistic that the concept could work in the Bay Area.
We can do this from a cost standpoint, and we can do this in terms of the expertise that we have.
Good morning. And some living in and working with the Bay Area's homeless community share that optimism, like Charlie, once homeless herself, who now works on case management for unhoused clients.
If it's centralized, then people feel like they belong to a community and they can help each other out and they can celebrate their successes.
And that sense of belonging and purpose, says Francis Shenguya, is something that many people living on the streets are missing.
You have to have a raison d'etre, a reason to live.
This is my sleeping bag.
He became homeless in 2017.
I had a home. I was in corporate America working well. I have 4 children.
Over the course of 8 years, he's bounced around the Central Coast and the Bay Area.
Monterey, Salinas, Livermore, California, San Jose, East Palo Alto, Gilroy, and then Mountain View.
While there is more he'd need to learn about the community-first concept, he thinks it sounds promising.
Right now, I wouldn't go to any shelter. And you look at it, I'm not the draggy type, but I wouldn't go to the shelters because they don't treat you right.
Solnick says Seeds of Hope has looked at over 100 parcels of land in the greater Santa Clara County area.
And within that, we've identified about 10 that we believe are viable, whether it's taking into account NIMBY, people who don't want it in my backyard, homeless advocates who don't want to push homeless people out into the corner of the city and create a slum, and environmentalists.
Though there are more hoops to jump through, Solnick is feeling encouraged.
I feel inspired.
As for his why, his drive to make a difference,
I guess like I tell my kids, when we visit someplace, let's leave it in better condition than we found it. And that applies to life too.
A simple yet powerful purpose. Right now, Seeds of Hope is working to build 2 other communities, one in Livermore and one in Tacoma, Washington. Coming up after the break, providing a safe space to get that clean cut. We'll take you inside an old school barbershop in San Francisco that's creating a new vibe for its clients. And we will introduce you to one of the high-flying performers who talks about managing his own fears at Cirque du Soleil. In a city that never has been afraid of reinventing itself, one barbershop is giving the old trade a fresh new trim on tradition. And as our Itai Hod reports, for many people, this change is long overdue.
In the heart of San Francisco, there's an old school barbershop pumping up a whole new vibe.
I saw it in the news or Instagram.
Saba Parsa has spent years searching for a good short haircut. But in a world where salons cater to long hair and barbershops mostly serve men, people like Saba often end up stuck between a clipper and a hard place.
Not everybody knows how to cut short hair, so this was a dream spot.
Welcome to The Barb, the little shop in Bernal Heights cutting gender norms down to size, catering to women, non-binary people, and really anyone who wants to go short. Sheena Lister is the owner of the place, which has been described as a barbershop without the bro vibes.
People are used to either getting a haircut at a salon or a barbershop, and we're kind of the in-between.
It seems short hair is all the buzz these days. In fact, Vogue recently declared that 2025 is proving that hair is going even shorter. Ro Gooch is a non-binary barber specializing in gender-affirming cuts. They say for many, it's all about feeling their true selves.
If you have long hair, are you gonna get booted out of here?
Nicely, yes.
Part 70s barbershop and part soda fountain. It's complete with checkered floors, wood paneling, and a front window offering soft serve, coffee, and a swirl of nostalgia.
Just like a nod to the old school soda fountain and barbershop. Those were both places that people gathered for community.
Yeah.
As for Saba, the end result speaks volumes.
It's just a dream.
Because in a world full of hard edges, it's nice to find a place that keeps things short.
This is great.
And sweet.
So good.
Winter sports enthusiasts are spending Thanksgiving weekend hitting the slopes in the Sierra, but this year many resorts are starting out with far less snow than what they'd originally hoped for. This was the scene on opening day at Boreal Mountain Resort. Pretty busy there. One of the 8 lifts was up and running. The resort leaned heavily on snowmaking operations. People say they are making the most of what's there.
We still got snow on the ground. We're out here to ride. Hopefully conditions get better. We're going to be out here until then.
Sugar Bowl, Palisades Tahoe, Kirkwood, and North Star all have yet to open up. That's because of low snowfall, but they hope to get open soon.
It is one of the busiest travel weekends of the year, and while fog in the Central Valley and around the Bay Area is going to slow things down, we're going to take a look at the national perspective because there are going to be some complications there as well. A major storm system moving right through the middle of the country, spreading snow and wind through the upper Midwest. So Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, over into Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio, all of those states getting a significant amount of snow, near blizzard conditions at times. And this includes some major airports that are going to have some cascading effects across the rest of the country. Minneapolis, both airports in Chicago, Detroit, even Cleveland, Indianapolis, and Milwaukee. Some of the smaller airports are going to be impacted. And on the warm side of the system, we're going to be seeing the potential for strong to severe thunderstorms moving from Dallas down to Houston, a couple of other busy airports. Those strong storms along the Gulf Coast will continue tonight. Then the whole thing moves into the northeastern U.S., and all those northeastern airline hubs are going to be impacted for the last day of the holiday weekend. So if you or family are traveling, just be patient, check your flights before you leave home. It is going to be a challenging weekend, to say the least. Let's talk about things a little closer to home. The challenge we have is navigating through the fog, and also the same air mass trapping the fog is trapping smoke from wood-burning stoves and fireplaces near ground level. Air quality mostly in the moderate category. No spare the air alert from the Air District for today, but that remains in the realm of possibility for the last day of the holiday weekend tomorrow. Let's take a look at the local map and track how that fog is going to impact our temperatures. And there certainly is going to be an impact. Where it's most stubborn in the interior valleys of the East Bay and the North Bay, temperatures are going to be a little bit cooler, especially for the East Bay. Let's check out those forecast highs. And the coolest spots are going to be far east of the Oakland Hills and really east of the Diablo Range. Mid to upper 50s there, but up to struggling around 60 degrees in Livermore. For the North Bay, we are again cautiously optimistic. We're going to shake some of that fog, and temperatures will warm up to a mix of upper 50s and low to mid 60s. Should be in the low to mid 60s around the Bay, and the warmest spots will be for our neighbors farther down to the south, around Monterey and Salinas. Hollister getting up into the middle portion of the 60s by this afternoon. That's not bad for the second to last day of November. If you're looking a little bit farther down the line, let's take a look at the long range forecast because we don't have any rain in the 7-day forecast, even the 6 to 10-day outlook. That is a strong signal towards dry conditions, essentially from the Bay Area northward. We don't see even a hint of normal rainfall patterns shaping back up until we look at the 8 to 14-day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. And even that, we're probably in the back end of that 8 to 14-day range before the next rain chance would be headed towards the Bay Area. So in the short term, we'll continue focusing on the fog. 2 microclimates for you, not the usual ones of Bay, coast, and inland. We're looking at the East Bay and the North Bay, where the fog is going to have an impact on temperatures through Monday, and then more sunshine starts to break through and temperatures return to normal. The other microclimate, we didn't get real creative with the naming of this. It's just literally everywhere else. Temperatures aren't going to be a whole lot different, but you are going to see more sunshine over the weekend to start next week, and that's going to make it feel just a little bit warmer.
There is a new holiday event in San Francisco as Cirque du Soleil brings its latest show to Oracle Park. Lorene Ayoub gives us an inside look at what it takes to put together one of these unique shows.
San Francisco is getting a burst of energy this season as Cirque du Soleil brings its newest big top production to town. Entitled Echo, performers like teeterboard artist Jerome Hugo says the thrill begins long before the audience arrives.
We have a lot of practice to arrive there, but yeah, sometimes it's really it's risky, so sometimes it's scary to do stuff.
But that rush is a part of the craft and is exactly what keeps Jerome on his feet or in the air. Diagnosed with ADHD as a child in his native Switzerland, he says the circus was the perfect career path for him.
When I was a kid, I was really hyperactive, and I really run everywhere and need to move. And a circus school just opened close to my house in Switzerland. And I went there and I just really, really love it, and it's really helped me to focus and to stay focused on something. Yeah.
Cirque du Soleil's return is more than a spectacle. It's a continued economic boost for San Francisco. Night after night, Echo pulls thousands into the 2,500-seat Big Top near Oracle Park, funneling new energy and business into the Mission Bay area.
Cirque du Soleil Echo is the newest show of Cirque du Soleil. It's the newest Big Top production, so it's very modern. We really wanted to go to a simplistic way of telling a story. There's a lot less props. It's very streamlined, very modern, very contemporary, and the focus is all on the artists themselves.
And for the artists, like Jerome, that spotlight, combined with the reaction of packed Bay Area crowds, makes every risky moment worth it.
The adrenaline and the audience, when you land the tricks and you have a good reaction from the audience, it's really good for the feeling. Yeah.
Cirque du Soleil's magic is on stage in San Francisco now, running through January 18th.
We head into the last weekend of November. Temperatures for most of the Bay Area aren't going to be bad, up into the low to mid 60s for highs in San Francisco, Oakland, and San Jose. The exception is going to be east of the Oakland Hills. So the interior valleys of the East Bay and the North Bay, if we added Santa Rosa to this chart, only going to reach up into the 50s, which is a little below average. It's warmer than yesterday, but still below what's typical for this time of year, the result of that fog being a bit more stubborn in those inland valleys. And that same air mass traps smoke from wood-burning stoves and fireplaces at ground level, so moderate air quality across the Bay Area today and likely the same again tomorrow.
One of the best things about Thanksgiving weekend is, of course, the leftovers. Hopefully you've had a turkey sandwich or two at this point. But experts remind everybody to keep food safety in mind when storing and reheating the turkey, as well as all of those side dishes.
We leave it out on the counter and that temperature drops below a threshold where bacteria can start to not only grow, but produce toxins in the food. And then as we store that food away, if we don't store it either efficiently and quickly enough, or we store it too long and reheat it, not at an appropriate temperature, those bacteria can make us sick.
Good hand washing, also key for prevention. Be sure to wash your hands before and after handling any foods to keep everyone healthy this holiday season. Scouts in Piedmont are getting ready to open up their holiday tree lot this morning. They spent Friday unloading 1,000 Christmas trees. The Scouts lined up to grab and carry the trees to their designated spot. Their lot is located on Red Rock Road off of Moraga Avenue. Selling trees has been a Piedmont Scouts tradition for nearly 60 years. One member says he looks forward to this every year.
I think it's a great way to help the community, and honestly it's just a fun time hanging out with some people, and you get some nice volunteer hours, and my family actually gets a tree from here every year, so it's nice to help out where I get my own trees from.
Proceeds support more than 900 Boy and Girl Scouts. The holiday tree lot opens today at 9.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
San Jose firefighters spent Friday raising money for their annual Fill the Boot fundraiser. This was at the intersection of Almaden Expressway and Blossom Hill Road. They're collecting funds to support burn victims in the South Bay. They say every donation, big or small, helps their cause. CBS News Bay Area is teaming up with local food banks to feed the hungry this holiday season, and you can help your neighbors in need too. Scan that QR code on your screen to find out more about how you can donate to or volunteer at the Bay Area's food banks. You can also head to kpix.com/give. Thanks for watching KPIX News this morning. Don't forget, the news continues all day on CBS News Bay Area. We'll be right here tomorrow, 6 o'clock in the morning, bright and early. From all of us here at KPIX and CBS News Bay Area, have a great Saturday.